Dr. Delcy Allison Jr., in the Gospel of Mark, history or legend? What do you think actually happened, or where do you draw these lines? Like, can you tell us what isn't there that you don't think really happened in the Gospel of Mark? But before you actually do that, I do want to mention our course that we did together, your books that you've published. I hope everybody will go get a copy. Make sure you sign up for the Quest for the Historical Jesus course. I swear on it, you will not be missing out. You'll own it for life, high quality. You're helping support a great scholar, and you're helping generally get this scholarship to a more broad audience. So whether you're Christian, wherever you land on the ontology side, it really doesn't matter, because this course is amazing. Go sign up. Eventually, we're going to do a Q&A, taking your questions live. Now to the Gospel of Mark, the earliest gospel, Mark in priority. What are some things you personally find in this gospel, not historical, but more either theological, legendary, you just wouldn't put high confidence in this actually happened?
Oh, okay. So again, we've got a problem here with me, all right? So I started out some time ago saying that it's often very difficult for me to distinguish history and fiction and pull them apart. So what I just did with the transfiguration narrative, maybe not convincingly, but what I did also with the baptismal narrative and the temptation in Matthew and Luke is say that we have these memories here, right? And they can be mixed with imagination and theology and so on. It's very hard to just pull them apart and say, here's the memory, here's the imagination. So if you look at Mark 5, this is the story of the Gerasene demoniac. It looks to me, first of all, like somebody's having a really good time. It's not like all the other stories. You get details about this guy. He runs around, couldn't break his chains. All this stuff. Detail. It sounds to me like somebody around a campfire having a good time. All right. So there's not a whole lot like that. And then if you look at the tradition histories of this, they're all over the place. So. And then you have this strange notion that the pigs ran over the cliff. So if I look at a story like this, actually my response is, I have no idea what this is or where it came from or what it represents or what historical memory might be here. Just zero. That's it. So doesn't mean that there isn't some memory there, but maybe of some exorcism or exorcism gone wrong. I have no idea. But there are things in Mark like that where I just look at them and I scratch my head and I don't know what they are. The cursing of the fig tree, that could be a prophetic act of Jesus. You know, if you read Jeremiah and Ezekiel, some of the Hosea, there were prophets who not only prophesied, but they did weird things, right? They did weird things on purpose to make some point. So maybe Jesus did something weird on purpose. I find it hard to think that he was just hungry and got mad because there weren't figs, especially since it's not the season for figs. The story doesn't really make any sense to me. Maybe some people have said, well, maybe since there's a parable about a fig tree in Luke 13, maybe it's somehow derived out of this. I just look at it and say, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what to think about it. So that's more often what I have with Mark. I don't know something. You know me well enough to know that I think there was probably an empty tomb and probably a burial story. But you know that beyond that, I'm sticking pretty much to the gist of things, right? I'm not depending on any of the details to be historical. I'm not that confident of any of this stuff. I think Jesus probably appeared before Pilate, but that we have anything that was said between them, that seems a little doubtful to me. So I'm not going to be helpful to you here because much of Mark is like this. It's just I look at it and say, well, there could be some memory here, but I'm not exactly sure what it is.
Let me ask you specifically closer to the empty tomb. You have this young man. First, you have one that's naked running away at one point. But then, I don't want to get lost in the Morton Smith question because that's a whole different can of worms. But I wonder about the man dressed in linen that is at the tomb. What do you make of that? Do you take that at face value, or what are your thoughts?
No, I don't. So Matthew thinks it's an angel. Luke thinks it's an angel. They are our earliest readers of Mark. So unless there's good reason to doubt them, I'm not going to go against them. The other thing is that angels are called young. In many texts, they are young on all the icons. All of the angels are always young, whatever the explanation of that is. They are called men again and again and again. So I just don't see any problem with that being an angel. And again, people do see figures of white. They hallucinate or see, whatever word you want to choose. They do. That's really common. It's really common for people to see figures of white. So, it's possible somebody near the empty tomb saw a figure of white. But if I had to bet, I would bet it's a literary clarification at some point, a heavenly interpretation. It's like the voice of the baptism. It's the interpretation of the empty tomb, because a tomb by itself isn't going to say anything. So I think it's secondary, although again, I can't be sure of that. As to the naked young man in Mark 14:52 who runs away, I have no idea what it is. I don't know why it's there. I don't know why it matters. It doesn't look to me like the author's autograph, like I was there too. I don't see any real reason to connect him with the guy in Mark 16. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. I know that it's popular today for people to do that. Some people have tried to connect it to the story about Joseph, because if you remember, Joseph in Genesis is grabbed by Potiphar's wife, and when that story is told in the Testament of Joseph, the phrase is very, very close to what we have in Mark. She grabs his garment, and he runs away naked. I can't make anything of that parallel. So that's just a point at which I'm stumped, and it's okay to be stumped sometime. This is an ancient text, and this is a text in which Matthew and Luke read, and neither one of them reproduced that story. My guess is they didn't know what to make of it. So they're just like me. I don't have any clue what that's about. Let's say I don't reject, but I am very hesitant for people to read a lot into that. I've never seen an article on that. Thank God we don't have a book on that yet. We probably will at some point. I have a doctoral dissertation, The Naked Young Man. Well, we have a whole book on John the Baptist's diet. You know that, don't you? It's a giant monograph on, turns out it's on locusts and wild honey in Antiquity.
Wow.
Anyway, so, I suppose I'm disappointing you, but
no.
I'm a skeptic. I have no idea what to do with that weird passage. The only thing I can connect it with is the other disciples flee also, and there are these interesting connections between Mark 13, which is the eschatological discourse, prophecy of the end, and Mark's passion narrative, and Mark 13 talks about people fleeing, so maybe there's some connection there, but. I gave up trying to solve that one long ago. Moved on to more profitable pastimes.
Thank you, Dr. Allison.